Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and welcome to the webinar. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes, just going to give people time to get in, get settled, and we'll get started. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight for Making Peace with Making Money, the three vital shifts for going big, earning huge, and having a massive impact. My name is Regina. I am a content strategist that moved the crowd, and I will be your moderator tonight. This session is a 90-minute working session with a special treat at the end, so we definitely encourage you to stick around for that. It's going to be interactive. We definitely want you to have something to write with, pen, notebook, journal. Very, we're very into the actual hand to heart. So no tablets or computers. We're going to write the old-fashioned way tonight. We will be polling, using the chat section, and calling on you to engage live with our presenter Rod throughout our time. So please, if anything comes to mind, definitely hit us up in the chat, and we can save your questions for the Q&A portion towards the end. So throughout the session, I'll be reminding you to add your questions to the chat, and we'll make sure that we get to everyone at the end. Lastly, I want to advise you that you will be muted throughout this session so that everyone can hear Ra as clearly as possible. But if you have any issues, you can take it to the chat, and I'll be there to help. And with that, I will introduce Ra Goddess, CEO and founder of Move the Crowd.
Thank you so much, Regina, for helping me hold it down tonight. And thank you all so much for taking the time to be here with me. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the webinar, Making Peace with Making Money, the three vital shifts for going big, earning huge, and having a massive impact. For those of you who may be new to me and new to us, as Regina said, my name is Ra Goddess. I am the founder and CEO of Move the Crowd. And we are an entrepreneurial training company that is dedicated to helping people stay true, get paid, and do good. And I like to describe us as a company, as a movement, and as a community of practice. We offer a variety of training and coaching and mentoring programs very similar to what you're going to experience tonight. And we are unique in the professional development space because we serve a very unique audience. We are dedicated to individuals like you, people who have a deep desire to use their talents, gifts, and passions to make a difference in the world, while also being very adamant and passionate about building financially profitable venture in the process, which is why tonight's topic and tonight's webinar is so important to us, because transforming your relationship to money is such an integral part of what we do. It is the center of our work, literally, the get paid in the get paid, the stay true in the get paid and the do good. We are also a mission-driven company, and we are dedicated to cultivating a movement of, so we work with purpose-driven game changers, and we're committed to cultivating a movement that transforms the culture of capitalism and fosters an economy of true paid good. And we describe that as an economy that is more accessible, more equitable, and more sustainable for us all. And again, more of the reason why we are leaning into tonight's topic and creating tonight's webinar. It comes from a commitment to get to the heart of what is between you and the kind of abundant financial reality that you'd like to have in your life and in your business. So tonight's webinar is for you if you've got a clear vision for the difference you want to make, but you struggle with going big, or maybe even shy away from making money or having more at a deeper level or a bigger level. You deliver incredible value to your clients, let's say, but consistently feel in some way undervalued or unacknowledged or underpaid. You go the extra mile, but you're not quite feeling the love on the other side. This webinar is for you. This webinar is for you tonight if you know that you want to pursue a dream, a passion, but you're terrified to let go of the security of your day job. All the signs are there. You're being shown at every turn that it's time to let go and lean into your dream, but for whatever reason, you just can't quite make that leap. Tonight's webinar is for you. It's for you if you believe that your passion, your talents, and your ideas are worth millions, but you can't figure out kind of how to get from that idea to that reality of actually manifesting and delivering on that particular $1 million reality that you can just see so clearly. Tonight's webinar is for you. It's also for you if you struggle with being spiritual or community-minded while also being financially ambitious. You find yourself being conflicted because you've been taught that these two things should not go together, and you're in what we call a moral dilemma about how to stay true to both parts of yourself. Then this webinar is absolutely for you. So as I sort of give you all of the different potential scenarios that you might fall into, I'd love to hear from you all about which one rings the most true. And Regina, I'm going to invite you to open up the poll, and let's just get a taste of where people are finding themselves in these categories. Or if there's another category that you're occupying that has you feel called to be with us tonight. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me now? Just give me a shout out in the chat and let me know. Give me a thumbs up. Awesome. Just want to make sure. Apparently I went out there for a second, Regina said, and I'm back. So we're going to open up the polls. Awesome ones. Thank you all. I love the love. I could see y'all coming through. Thank you all so much for letting me know. So Regina, I'm going to invite you to open up the poll and let's see where people are. Aha, this is so awesome. Okay, Regina, we can close the poll and let's see what the numbers come up to for us. So it looks to me like you all are kind of a little bit in each category, which is really, really awesome. But there's a big contingency of you out there who your ideas are worth millions, but you're not quite sure about how to get there. You can see it, you can feel it, you've got something, but you're not quite clear about how to manifest on it or how to realize it. Okay, beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about the promises for our time together. Wait, actually, before I get there, before we dive into the work, Regina asked you at the top to make sure that you had something to write with, and she mentioned something about no laptops or no tablets, and she's right. We really do want you to work with the hand and the heart tonight. Tonight is going to be a working session For the full 90 minutes, we are going to be going at it for sure. And the reason why I'm asking you to use your hands is because there is a special connection that happens between the hand and heart. When we write, we're actually activating a different part of our brain, the part that is more creative and open to new ideas and concepts. You can always, after the webinar is over, transfer your notes into your laptop, but I really want to encourage you to keep it old school tonight. I also want to encourage you to stick around because I'll be sharing a special gift to help you deepen your exploration into the themes and concepts we're going to discuss tonight. This worksheet contains a series of bonus questions to support a whole new level of awareness around you and your money. There's no obligation connected with this. This is just my gift to you, my way of saying thank you for attending the webinar, and my way of supporting you and being able to take everything that you get from our time together tonight with you out into your respective and collective ventures. I'm also going to be sharing some additional goodies for those of you tonight who are ready to take action, but we'll talk about that when we get a little further down the road. So the promises of our time together tonight. So the first promise is that we are going to get into and examine your inner dialogue around money. Now, when it comes to money and doing business, you are making decisions all the time. You just may not be aware of it. I'm going to help you in our time tonight examine all of the places where your inner dialogue may be getting in the way of your ability to have the kind of life and financial success that you desire. I'm also going to talk about and help you create a new level of confidence in what you have to offer. I'm going to show you how our current economy is actually poised and ready for the contribution that you were born to make. And I'll share how you can confidently participate in this new economy in a way that is both profitable and values aligned. You're also going to have the opportunity to cultivate a new definition for success, one that is about more joy and less struggle. It is possible to do the work you love and make a great living and have time to devote to the other things that bring you joy and fulfillment. And tonight I'm going to push your thinking around what you've been taught about success in order to encourage you to consider a new, more authentically aligned definition. And tonight you're also going to discover how to be spiritual, aka loving, aka wonderful, do good, and be unapologetic about making money. The commitment to being loving and making a difference does not have to be at odds with your desire for wealth and financial freedom. There is such a thing as both and. And as a matter of fact, many would argue that in order to be successful and fulfill on your vision, you need to have all three. You need to be committed to being a wonderful person. And we'll talk a lot more about that because I know we live in a time right now where that's not necessarily what we're seeing being promoted. But when we talk about success in terms of real success and true success, you know, this opportunity to be loving and advancing and generous is crucial. You do get to have a deep desire to do good and to want to be able to make a difference in the lives of other people. And you do need to be unapologetic about having money and leveraging and attracting the kind of resources you need and want in order to make the kind of difference that you aspire and desire to make. So now that we're clear about the promises, let's talk a little bit about how you can participate. Over the next 90 minutes, here is my invitation to you. Number one, I'd love for you all to set an intention for this conversation, for what you'd like to get out of our time together tonight. Think about where you currently are around your money and think about what, if anything, you'd like to maybe address or change or transform, right? The second intention I want to invite you into is to see this as a fresh opportunity to explore your current relationship. So I don't want you to rely on what was true for you yesterday. We are changing every single day, y'all. So I want you to give yourself permission in this conversation to look anew. I also want to invite you to suspend what you know and really take the conversation in. My experience is that the minute you say, I know, you stop listening. Now, as with anything, I'm sure that, the concepts that we're going to be talking about tonight, for some of you, they're going to be really familiar. For others of you, they may be new. I'm thrilled about the fact, for those of you that are connected to these concepts, I'm thrilled about the fact that that's true for you. And what I also want you to know is that even when you're familiar with a concept, there are various levels of knowing and various levels of understanding. And so tonight, what I want to be able to encourage you to do is kind of listen with new ears and listen with an open heart and an open mind, remembering that it's not just enough to kind of know. You want to be able to apply the concepts in your life and in your ventures in a way that actually enables you to manifest and achieve the results you're wanting to achieve, right? So again, as you're engaging with the concepts tonight, keep opening your mind and keep opening your heart to be able to receive new aspects and nuances of the conversation that could actually wind up being the very game changers for you as you start to reconsider your relationship to money and doing business. The next intention is to be willing to challenge your resistance. When you feel it coming up, or you begin to feel uncomfortable in the conversation, or maybe even see yourself starting to shut down, I want you to notice where you normally stop and see if you can encourage yourself to dig a little deeper and go a little farther in the conversation. And then finally, celebrate any shifts in perception. For some of you, this conversation may bump up against some deeply entrenched conditioning, and I want you to see any shift you make tonight as progress. Even if you're just beginning to question what's there, this is progress and deserves to be celebrated. Okay, so we have a sense of kind of what sort of area you fall into in terms of what maybe drew you into the conversation tonight. But now I want to know a little bit more about who you are. And so, Regina, we're going to open up the polls again, and I'm going to pose a few questions. And the first one you all can see on the screen is, I want to know what stage of entrepreneurship you're in. What stage are you in? So in our work at Move the Crowd, we have 3 stages. The first being considered to be the emergent stage, which we affectionately call the I have a dream stage. The second being the established stage, which we call affectionately the show me the money stage. And the third being the experience stage, which is the I believe I can fly stage. And in the emergent stage, it's just as it says, right? So you're incubating an idea, you're just getting started, and you've been nurturing an idea or cultivating an idea, and you're really wanting to kind of move in a way that enables you to determine whether or not what you have is viable. Does the idea have legs, traction? Are people interested in it? Will people lean into it? Is this something that I can build and grow, right? So those are usually the questions that are happening for those of you who are in the emergent stage. If you're in the established stage, it means you've been in and you've been working in your passion and your purpose for some time, and maybe you've been freelancing and you're ready to bring some structure to it or take it to the next level in terms of really formalizing your business. Or maybe you've been in your business for a while, but the business is maybe plateaued and you want to know how to sort of break through that ceiling maybe that you've reached so that you can go to the next level of sustainability. Which means that your business, your passion, or the things that you're engaged in actually can financially sustain you month over month, year over year. And this is what can receive your 100% focus because it's generating at the level that it needs to. When you're in the experience category, it means you've stepped into your passion, you're earning, you're realizing success, and now you're really trying to figure out how to take it far and wide. You're trying to scale it so that you can increase and realize even more profitability. So, okay, when I look at where you all are, it looks to me like the majority of you are in the emergent stage, which is great tonight. You're in a perfect stage to be in this conversation because you can kind of put really good roots in the ground as we start to build and grow and as you start to lean into your passion. And then I see some of you are in that sort of middle stage of the show me the money. Okay, I've gotten out, I've said yes, I've committed, I've started to kind of get into it and share what I have to offer with the world. And I realize that there's another level I need to go to in order to be able to really have this business sustain itself in a way that is comfortable for me and enables me to continue to lean in full force. Okay, good. I got it, you all. So next question, are you currently making money in your passion and in your purpose? Are you currently, and listen, you all, even if it's just $10, I'm curious to see how many of you have crossed the threshold and are making money in this area and, putting out what you're here to do in the world and starting to realize revenue as a result of that. Okay, Regina. So interesting. So about 30% of you have crossed that threshold. Congratulations. And about 70% of you are still like, it may be you're waiting for that leap, wanting to take that leap from your day job or doing other things that are not necessarily squarely in your passion. Okay. So now the next question is, how much did you earn in 2018? For those of you who did realize revenue, how much did you earn in 2018? I'm going to give you a couple minutes to respond here. Okay, lovely. You all are all over the board. That's beautiful. So I see, probably just over half of you, somewhere between no money and about 50 grand. Great. So you got, tons of room to grow here. Love that about 30% of you are in the six-figure realm. That's beautiful. So you've broken through that first milestone of being able to hit six figures, and you're on your way to that second milestone, which in our work we consider to be 250,000 as being that second milestone. And I see about 15% of you are in that 250 to $500,000 mark, which is phenomenal. So if you're just beginning, again, you're going to be looking at how do you put these best practices in place. If you're in that 30% realm and that six-figure realm, you're going to be listening. What may be in the way of you in that next milestone? And I promise you all, at every major financial milestone, there's new opportunities of things to break through. And that's going to be a recurring theme in our conversation tonight. All right, so let's go to the next question. So of what you earned in 2018, how much of it specifically came from your passion and your purpose? So now we're looking for the dollar amount. How much of it specifically came from you doing what you love, you doing what it is that you believe you're here to do? Awesome. Again, you all are all over the board here. So about 50%, roughly 60%. Okay. This is so beautiful, you all, because as you are coming in, the polls are shifting, Regina, right? I should probably wait till you finish. All right. Okay, so about 75% in that 0 to 50,000. Okay, so the bulk of you, lots of room to grow here in your passion, your purpose. Love that 13% of you in that 50 to 999, and then about 15% of you, 13% of you in that had broken that six-figure mark in the context of your passion and purpose. Is beautiful. So my commitment to you all as we lean into this conversation, that all of you wind up being in that six-figure mark and above, right? Through what we open the door for today in the work that we're going to do tonight. Okay, now, as we're reflecting on 2018, this is an important question. How did you feel about what you earned? So we got what the numbers were. Now let's talk a little bit about the feelings associated with how you did last year. Were you happy? Were you a little frustrated? Were you a little sad? Where'd you land in terms of thinking about how you felt with regards to how 2018 went for you financially? Again, this is great, you all. So it's interesting, you all are all kind of in the middle here. Not too high, not too low. So about 25% of you are happy with what you did. That's awesome. About 40% of you are kind of like, it was okay. You know, I know there's more there. I didn't quite blow the doors off, but it wasn't horrible. It's kind of how we sort of see okay. And then 40% of you are frustrated. And I want to say to you, frustration is a good thing, you all, because that may be part of what's fueling the fire to want to really lean in and have 2019 be different. So, you know, we can always build on happy, you all can always take it higher. Please know that. Okay, we definitely want to get you on the court more emotionally, right? And then certainly for those of you who are frustrated, we're going to have fun tonight. Okay, so now let's talk about what your plan is for 2019. What's your goal? What's your aim? What do you want to earn this year? Oh, this is great. Again, you all over the board here. It's beautiful. I'm going to give you another minute or so and finish up. Okay, so just over 10% of you are kind of like, man, if I can get to that first threshold, I'd be thrilled. In other words, 50 or over, I'd be thrilled. The six-figure milestone, about a third of you, which is great. Like that's your aim between that 100K and 249K mark. 22% of you are like, I'm ready to go into that, you know, that 250 to $500,000 mark. So that's what we call that second major milestone. And then, some of you are like, yeah, let's really reach, let's go for it. That $500,000 to $1 million mark. And then I got some people who are ready to play a seven-figure game this year. That's awesome. So again, for all of you, lots of room to grow in the conversation and in the work that we're going to do tonight. And one of the most important questions as we're thinking about setting our goals, and, you know, it's beautiful because we're fresh, we're at the top of the year, this is where we are, you know, one of the most important parts is getting really clear about what do you think you'll need in order to stay motivated and engaged so that you can achieve. For some of you, you know, you're going for incremental shifts. For others of you, you're trying to quantum leap this year. So I'm curious about what do you think needs to happen in order to get you on track for that financial goal that you've set for this year? Interesting. Yep. You all, I see you're thinking about it. This is good. So I want to give you about another minute. All right. This is a really important question. Great. And I see you all over the board on this, which is also really great. So 30% of you know, man, you got to keep your goals in front of you. And I will talk, I promise, more about this as we get deeper in, about the importance of keeping your eye on the prize. Some of you know you might need to work a little harder. You may need to step it up. Understood. And then for some of you, you know that building team is critical. So from a strategic perspective, you're also kind of looking at how do I get more capacity in-house, which will enable me to reach higher and farther and potentially even get there faster. And then some of you know you need another layer of support and accountability. Excellent. So about 14% of you are like, I think I'm going to want to get a coach in here. To even support kind of holding my feet to the fire and helping me ensure that I'm on track and then I'm focusing on the right things, which is one of the other beautiful contributions that the right coach can make for you. All right. Excellent. So now that I've had an opportunity to learn a little bit more about you and where you are in relationship to your goals and your aspirations and just how last year's been for you and how have you felt about it, I want to share a little bit about me and tell you a little bit about my story and my journey as it relates to money. So I like to describe myself as a change of life baby born into the intersection of civil rights and hip hop. And these are my beloved parents, and they're Fred and Ruth are their names. And they were born in the late 1920s. So I am a change of life baby. They had me literally when they were in their 40s, and they survived over 2 decades of Jim Crow segregation in this country. And they worked very hard and fought even harder for basic rights and dignity and respect. And in the time that they were coming of age, they weren't able to have access to any form of sort of personal or economic empowerment. Those things were not as prevalent for them because of the nature of our society and the way that our society was structured in terms of opportunity. And so because of these challenges and the challenges they experienced, they instilled 3 core values in my siblings and I growing up. The first was a commitment to family. It was always about supporting the family and making sure that we stuck together and that we really had each other's backs. The second was a commitment to community. And this was really important for my parents because they really carried a we mentality. You know, my mother always used to say, there but for the grace of God go I. And they didn't just talk about that, but they actually lived that way. And the third commitment was a commitment to education. They saw education as being the single most important factor for being able to elevate or grow one's station in life or be able to get ahead and achieve. And in addition to those 3 priorities, they ingrained in us the value of generosity, which stated if we ever got access to any kind of advantage or opportunity, that we actually had a responsibility to give back. And that's that community piece, right? And I said, but my mom, there but for the grace of God, right? And my parents didn't just espouse this. They really lived this way. I mean, we shared our home, our food, the clothes off our backs. We've provided support to people in all kinds of circumstances, whether it was sort of the international traveler who had lost their way, or whether it was one of the kids from my mom's school who was going through a really severe situation at home. And my parents weren't rich by any one stretch of the imagination, and certainly not financially savvy, right? Because they came up in this time where this opportunity to advance economically was limited due to systemic racial injustice in this country. So they were big on purpose, though, very, very big on purpose and really dedicated to change. But like I said, when it came to money, boy, did they struggle. And, it should be no surprise to you all that following in my parents' footsteps, I also became someone that was very big on purpose, but unfortunately very short on finances, really big on change, but short on dollars. And, my passions and my conviction led me to become an artist, an activist, and a woman of spirit. And I like to say that I unknowingly at the time signed up for the poverty trifecta when you consider sort of the cultural conditioning around each of those roles. So, when I found myself almost 15 years into my career as a creative organizer, I was clear that I was in my passion. I was in my purpose. I was impacting people in the way that I wanted to. I was working on the issues that I cared deeply about. I was building global family and global community in the process. But there was a problem. There was a challenge, and that was that I couldn't pay my rent. And I remember it coming to a head one night when I returned from a trip from Africa with less money than I had anticipated, and the rent was due. And it was one of those situations where, listen, I had been here before, and this is the picture, you all, and I keep this picture in front of me because it was really a pivotal moment. This journey was the beginning of a whole new journey for me in my relationship to money and doing business and doing business in a way that enabled me to fulfill on my purpose, right? So the situation was I got back and, I didn't make as much as I thought I was going to make. And, there was a gap between what I needed to have and what I actually had. And, I knew what I needed to do. I knew I needed to go out and hustle it. And I knew how to do it because it was something that I had done for many, many years. In other words, I'd often come to a situation where there would be a gap between what I'd earned in the end of the month and what I needed. And so, I knew what I needed to do, but I was just exhausted and could not motivate myself to do what I needed to do to run out and scramble and close that gap. And it was in that moment that I had a come to Jesus conversation with me and me. And in this come to Jesus conversation, I told myself, look, if I'm going to stay here and I'm going to continue to do this work that I care so deeply about, that I feel so passionate about, that I had to figure the money out. Like no matter what, I had to figure out a way to have this be viable and have this be sustainable for me if I was going to continue to stay here and contribute to do this work. And so what that caused me to do was to go out and get a very unorthodox business education. And I didn't go to Harvard or Yale or Wharton or any of those amazing, wonderful, prestigious schools. I actually sat at the feet of some very, very smart men, people who had grown businesses, multi-million-dollar businesses from dust, and had done it repeatedly. And I sat under their tutelage and I soaked up everything I possibly could. And I mean, these guys were smart and had a lot to offer and a lot to teach. And maybe as you see these images, many of you may recognize them. I always pay homage and acknowledge these men because what I learned from them changed the game for me in a lot of ways. And so in case you're not familiar, the one on the far left with the white hair and his hand outstretched is Bob Proctor. Next to him with his hand on his chest is T. Harv Eker. And then behind him, that's Chet Holmes with the glasses. Next to him, Brian Tracy. And finally, the guy who really like blew the doors off in terms of my reality around just marketing and promotion, Jay Abraham. And again, I will forever be grateful for what I learned from them. And in my work with them, they really invited and encouraged me through their curriculum to look at the conversations that I had inherited about money. And when I was in the rooms with them, I got to look at my relationship to money from a few perspectives. I got to look at what did it mean for me to have money? What did it mean for me to make money? What did it mean for me to move money in the world? And how could I do that in a way that really aligned with what I wanted to achieve in the world and what I wanted to impact and grow in the world? And what was the identity crisis that got created as a result of me even beginning to start to deal with this, right? I will be forever grateful for the things that I learned in that room because they cracked the door open and invited me in to look in a way that I had never been invited to look before and really wasn't able to look before in the fields of endeavor that I engaged in. In other words, the artistic field or the spiritual field or the activist field. We were not having healthy and forwarding conversations about money back in that time. And so they really cracked open the lid for me in a number of ways. But the real game changer for me, you all, was a spiritual law. A spiritual law, and it was called the law of pure potentiality. And the law of pure potentiality comes from the work of Deepak Chopra and the 7 spiritual laws of success. And I remember the first time that I encountered Deepak's work. And this law of pure potentiality says that you are creative. And that was a real mind bender for me because it was not how I was raised. I was raised to respond. In other words, life happened to me and this is how I was sort of trained and conditioned, that life happened and your job was to be able to respond in a way that enabled you to survive. That was the bottom line. It enabled you to make it to the other side. And, I was very much in a place of survival at the time. And it was really all just about being able to cover the basics, pay the rent, make sure I had food in the refrigerator, make sure I could clothe myself, make sure I could get to and from wherever I needed to get to in the context of being able to handle my responsibilities in the day-to-day. And so this idea of being creative was new to me. And this law of pure potentiality said that I had the opportunity and I had the power, that I actually possessed the power to be a conscious co-creator in creating a reality that would encompass anything I wanted and anything I wanted to have or anything I wanted to achieve or anything that I desired. And I had the ability to be a creator and a shaper in my own destiny. But in order to take advantage of this idea that I was creative or you are creative, as the law says, I had to take responsibility. I had to take responsibility for every facet of my life, and I particularly had to take responsibility for what was happening or not happening in the context of my finances. So embracing the law, I started to work in these areas of my life and looking at all of the different aspects of how I was handling my business and how I was engaging in my interactions and my dealings and discerning what was working for me and what wasn't working for me. And that was the beginning of getting on the court, of moving from a place of sort of being all over the place and scattered and in very much in reaction to everything that was going on to actually getting on the court from a place of being responsible and seeing my role and my opportunity as a conscious co-shaper in my own reality. And today, as I look back on that moment when I was literally on my knees, it's hard to believe how far I've come. And I say this with all humility. Like, I've gone from someone who was literally afraid to charge $250 a day for like my very best work to someone who now commands as much as 4 and 5 figures an hour and consistently gets it. I'm also someone who's helped generate tens of millions of dollars for the clients we serve at Move the Crowd. Through my own journey and the journey of our beloved clients over the last decade or so, I've learned a lot. And so today I want to give you some of what I've learned about making money and true success. And I want you to know that this lesson is continuing to unfold for me because I have a massive vision. Well, you guys saw it, 3 million entrepreneurs transforming the culture of capitalism. That is my vision. That's what I'm playing for. And so at every level, I said to you all, every level, there are new opportunities to break through and get free. And what I want to do is invite you into a conversation that even begins to enable you to start to see just what's in there. I want to teach you about what I had to unearth in order to be able to do this, not just make money, but to be able to command the figures that I do working in my passion and my purpose, which is what I most desire for you. So if I had to boil down my money journey into one sentence, it would be to say to you all that I moved literally from victim to vision. And I would say that there were 3 major shifts that took place for me. All of, by the way, was driven by this idea that if I get to create it, then what do I want it to be, right? If I get to create it, what do I want to have? And that was like, that question is what really opened the door and started to create a space for me to even recognize the potential of these shifts and then to be able to ultimately lean into them. So what were these fundamental shifts of which I speak? So the first shift was that I moved from someone who operated with our current marketing and economic system as being like at the mercy of this system, being a victim, to becoming a conscious, active shaper in my own reality. And when I say I was operating as a victim, I mean, this is where I was seeing capitalism as the enemy, right? It was something that just would sort of be happening to me and I was reacting. So I would be receiving contracts or going into business relationships and I wouldn't be negotiating. I would just take whatever was being dictated. People told me how it was going to go down. If this was the standard and it's not negotiable, you just sign it. Then that's what I was doing, whether or not I agreed with it or whether or not I liked the contract or whether or not I felt good about what I was being committed to through the agreement. I would just sign it. And, this was sort of my reality. There was no room or no space to challenge anything that was happening for me in the context of doing business. And so it was something that I didn't like, I didn't enjoy. In this new reality of being a conscious active shaper, I began to see that, wow, I could actually have a voice in my business dealings and the way that they went down. And as much as people say things are not negotiable, you all, in my experience, I know this now, I began to learn that you can actually negotiate anything. If people really want you and they really want to engage with you and they're serious about wanting to create opportunity for you, then there is a conversation that can go on and that you can actually negotiate terms that work for you. And that was a huge light bulb moment for me again, and invited me and enabled me to start to cultivate my voice in a different way. Another area where I became a conscious active shaper was informally, sort of in the old paradigm and at the mercy paradigm, I would come in to do something and I would always be asking people what their budget was. And this is, they would say our budget is X and this is what we want you to do. And very often you all know they would want you to move mountains or they would want you to walk on water. And invariably the budget would be, 25 cents or if you were lucky, 50 cents. And you all know how that works. You get into the work and as you begin to understand what's required and you really begin to see what really needs to happen, in order to achieve the desired result. And of course, because as human beings, we always want to do a good job. We always want to perform well. We begin to discover that what it really takes and what it really costs is far more than what the budget is. But again, because we didn't, I, at least at the time, was not getting into those conversations at the top, I sort of felt beholden to have to do, walk on water and move mountains for a 25-cent budget or a 50-cent, right? If you're lucky, budget. And you all know we do this all of the time, right? Not, with the best intentions. And it creates stress, and it creates pressure, and it creates anxiety, and it creates exhaustion, and it creates burnout, right? And so, holler up in the chat if you hear me, right, Regina? I want to just invite you all, if any of this is resonating with you all, right? And just those two examples of being able to give voice to my business dealings and find my voice around my business dealings and be able to align scenarios in a way that work for me, and my way of moving from a place of being someone who used to ask, what's your budget, to someone who now said, this is my price and this is my menus of services. Just this one shift, conscious active shaper, moving from at the mercy of to conscious active shaper, changed my reality in ways I can't begin to describe to you guys. But one of the clear indicators from this first shift alone was that I was able to triple my income in a space of 8 months. And that was the power of this first shift. Now, what enabled me to make the shift was being able to see the nature of my own inner dialogue. In other words, I started to pay attention to the things that I was saying to myself and how those conversations were either creating a really abundant possibility or giving me this very limited set of choices. And as you look at your own financially reality right now, no matter where you are, meaning if things are good and you want them to go to like a whole other level, to just notice like what's operating for you in your own inner dialogue. Or if things are tough and you know that something's got to give, I want you to think about the power of what this one shift could mean for you. Where have you maybe been operating at the mercy of something or someone when it comes to your money? Let's begin by examining and looking at the top 5 conversations you have with yourself about your money and your business transactions. Just give you a little bit of time. This is the moment to pull up your journal and just like what's in your conversations? What are the things that you're saying to yourself as you're engaging in your money and business transactions? And as you're looking, to what degree could you actually get this conversation verbatim, meaning down to the word or the words? What do you say to yourself and how do you say it? What do you see? What are those conversations that go on between you and you? When it comes to making money and doing business, all of us have an inner dialogue, a series of conversations we have with ourselves that dictate the decisions we make, right? And handling our business or handling our finances. And some of these conversations are visible to us, and some of these conversations are hidden, which means that we may not even be aware that we are having the conversation. We're just kind of acting or reacting to whatever's going on, whatever the case may be, right? These conversations loop around in our heads and they give us a particular kind of financial reality. And the first thing you want to start to do is discover what's in there. Now, for example, for me, one of my top 5 was this mantra, I have to do more, which meant I had to work harder. I had to do more things. I had to hustle more. I had to scramble more in order to make it. And this, the making it was my bills and all of my financial obligations. And you all got to see in my earlier story how it came to a head for me when I got back from Africa. I just didn't have it. And so as much as my head was saying, you got to do more, my body was saying, no mas. Sorry, sister, you ain't doing more of nothing, And so having to confront that gap where this mindset had kind of burnt me out and didn't enable me to do what I needed to do. And that was what laid the groundwork for this new opportunity and this new possibility. So again, you just get to see what is in there for you. Now, as you're considering what your top 5 conversations may be, and I promise you all, we're going to keep marinating on this as we go deeper. Some of you are still in this process of unearthing. So I want to say to you that things are going to keep opening up. And I don't want you to be alarmed if you can't touch them all in this moment. But once you begin to see, you'll notice this is going to be a gift that's going to keep giving. In other words, more awareness is going to keep showing up behind whatever may open up for you tonight. So the beginning of this conversation for you is to start paying attention. If you haven't been paying attention before, now's the time. So as we survey what is in your top 5 conversations, or the potential of what could be in your top 5 conversations, we want to go right to looking at what you've inherited. Because often when we're carrying conversations, we think that that they originate with us, that we are sort of the ones who've created them, we are the ones who've shaped them. But invariably, all of what we see or perceive about a situation, be it good or bad, often can come from what we've inherited, unless we're consciously working to craft and hone those conversations, right? And so when we consider what you've inherited here in the context of your top 5 conversations, here are some of the places where we start to look. So the first place you want to look is, what is it that you've inherited about yourself? In other words, your belief about the kind of person that you are, and what you can or can't have, or what you're capable of or not capable of, or what you can achieve or not achieve, or what's yours or what's not yours. And you just want to see what may be in there for you. And just jot it down as we're talking, right? I'm going to go through each of these areas, and I just want to, again, this is interactive, you all. I just want you to keep vibing with each of the areas that I'm raising here. So the next area that may be existing in your top 5 conversations is what you've inherited about others. As you think about the different interactions and transactions that happen in your day-to-day reality with people you know and with people you don't know, just bring your awareness to exploring what you believe about others. You know, my mother had a saying. My mother had lots of sayings, you guys, as you'll come to know. But she's a very wise woman in a lot of ways, but a very cautious and suspicious woman in many others ways. And she used to have this saying, I can trust him as far as I can throw him. Now, my mother was barely clearing 5 feet, you guys, and she had very short arms. So trust when I tell you, she wasn't throwing a lot of people. So you get the meaning of what she was saying about the dialogue to which, the degree to which she was willing to trust others. And, these things stay with you, right? And so as you all are starting to look at what comes up for you when you consider the people you've surrounded yourself by and the other sources of information and messaging that come in your reality in a day-to-day, you just want to notice what comes up for you in this question around, your relationship to others and how you perceive others, and what are some of the conversations you've inherited there. This is one of my favorites, right? What is it that you've inherited about the world? Or what is it that you believe about the world? And Lord knows, if you're looking at the news and following the media right now, whether it's on our television sets or in our social media streams, there's a whole lot of opinion being shaped right now about the state of our world and about what's happening or not happening in our world right now. And what is it that you've inherited? And what is it that you've allowed to seep in about the state of the world? And how does that inform and influence your internal dialogue and the conversations you have with yourself about making money and doing business? Oh, what about your conversation about success? What do you see there? What do you believe about success? Again, there could be multiple sources here. This is what I like to call the red carpet conversation, which is all about who we think belongs on the red carpet and who doesn't, and who the beautiful people are and the special people are. And this is part of this iconic worship conversation and the age of celebrity, which we are transitioning out of. And I promise I'm going to go deeper around that in a minute. But, this is what it looks like, right? But what does it look like in the age of the citizen? And as you're considering your own notion of success, or the notion of success that you've inherited, to what degree does that include you or not include you on that red carpet? Just notice. And then finally, what is it that you've inherited about source? And in that question, what is it that I want you to look in 2 places, so what is it that you've inherited about the notion of supply? Is supply infinite or is it limited? Is your world abundant or is it scarce? Just want you to notice what you've inherited there. The other side of this exploration in terms of source is the different potential paths of belief that we may be following, right? So in other words, there is the belief in certain paths. This idea of being a virtuous person is somebody who rejects money or resists money. And so I'm curious about, as you look at the different paths that you may be pursuing or engaging in, what is it that you believe as a result of what you may have been taught in the spiritual context or in the religious context or in the moral context, right? What do you see? So these are all of the places that I'm inviting you to look at as you're considering your top 5 conversations. Now, I want to take this a step deeper. As you're considering the nature of your inner dialogue, what are the beliefs that underlie these conversations? Right? So you've seen all of the different areas where the conversations could possibly exist. And now I want to talk about the root causes of these conversations. So as you look at all of what you believe, what is at the heart of these conversations for you? Here's where we really want to get into the heart of the matter and look at what's underneath as we consider what are the things that are really guiding the choices and the decisions that we make. So one potential root underlying conversation could be that there is not enough. And this is a fundamental belief, right? And you can fill in the blank. In this particular case, though, we're talking about money. So this is a scarcity conversation in a scarcity context. And the result of having this conversation as a fundamental root conversation moving around in your consciousness is that you may be living from paycheck to paycheck. You may not be able to access this abundant reality of which everyone speaks, right? So you may live a very constricted life. Maybe you don't invest in yourself. Maybe you don't invest in your future. You don't do the things that you want to do because you live in fear about where this next bit of money may be coming from. So you're inclined to really hold tight to whatever it is you have. Those may be some of the symptoms of a there is not enough kind of root cause operating in your consciousness. Another potential root cause could be the worthiness conversation, right? I am not worthy. And this has got nothing to do with anyone else. But when you look at yourself, you find that you feel that you are not worthy. And because of that, there's a way in which you shy away from and you push away from opportunities to be able to expand or grow or receive more, have more, or achieve more. Is a sort of way you don't feel like you deserve it, or there's a lack of clarity or a lack of belief about what you have to offer to the marketplace that is valuable. Lack of worthiness, you guys, shows up a lot as confusion. So again, you're just going to be listening for and noticing what's resonating for you, right? This is constantly sort of your natural instinct is to push away or to shrink back or go small or play small or hide. These are some of the ways that you know that the root cause, I am not worthy, may be showing up in your consciousness. Another one is I may be perceived as being corrupted. I might get seen as, and you guys, this one was mine. I just want to say, right, that when I dug up underneath all of the rubble of my conversations, this was one that was really holding me back from being fully expressed and keeping me from being free. I was so concerned about what other people would think. I was so afraid of being perceived as a sellout. I was so afraid of being perceived as someone who would be corrupted or contaminated or fooled, right? Or duped or greedy, or that I was willing to live and operate, and this, by the way, you guys, this really ran me, right? Like I was not living or operating in my full potential and what my full potential required or called from me because this was running the show. And when I saw this about myself, I was in a training. And I remember when I saw this, I was like, oh, the reason why I'm not willing to consider wealth, or the reason why I'm not willing to have money or pursue my full potential is that I'm afraid that I would be perceived as abandoning my people, or I'm afraid that I would be dominated by these opportunities. In other words, once somebody sort of was holding money over my head, that I would not be able to operate with any sense of morals or any sense of values. And when I saw this, y'all, I cried. I mean, I cried like a baby. It was that deep for me because underneath, I started to understand and recognize that somehow with all that conditioning, I didn't believe that I could trust myself. I didn't believe that I could have more and still be me, that I could trust myself with more, that I would do good things with more, right? Rather, I was believing that I was going to be corrupted. And the truth that I came to in that room was that I would always be me. And that I could have more, and that I wanted to have more because I wanted to do more. I wanted to impact more. And that is when the shackles started to fall off for me, right? Another root cause. I'm afraid of what it might take. You see my brother here with that big road and that big mountain and his little wings, like he's strapped up because he realizes, I might need all of this to be able to get up to the top of that. And this is another place that we don't talk a lot about, but people are afraid of the amount of pressure. People are afraid of the amount of work, the amount of effort that might be required, not only to attain it, but to maintain it. Right. And there's a concern that one will have to sacrifice quality of life or quality of experience or relationship with loved ones or, just time and freedom. And, there's all of these things, right, that you think you may have to trade. And so, again, you just want to notice, is this one operating in your psyche or your consciousness anywhere? And then there are, the ones who, like me, right, had to lean into and grapple with this moral dilemma. I have a fundamental issue with capitalism, and therefore I do not participate unless I am absolutely forced to. And these anti-capitalism conversations show up as a subset that kind of looks like the following. One, I'm angry at how much things cost, because if there's something I want or there's something I need and I can't get it, or I've got, more month at the end of my money, there's an anger and there's a real frustration with the system and the way that the system is structured. Another way this shows up as a subset conversation is I don't feel comfortable taking money for the things I'm offering. There's guilt or shame associated with it, especially if you do spiritual work or work that's considered to be traditionally more like charitable work. Taking money can make you feel like you're kind of part of the problem, or that you're aligning in a way with the sort of the evil that money is, or you're aligning with the greed and the exploitation that's out there. And that makes you feel bad. And you don't really want to do anything or take anything beyond your basic necessities. So you may be shunning taking money for doing the work that calls to your soul. And then finally, in this anti-capitalism sequence or series, another conversation is I serve a population that needs my offering, but they just can't afford to pay me. And I feel frustrated because I'm not in a position where I can just do what I need to do for free. Again, so this is where the guilt or the shame or the frustration or the anger comes up, because they can't have access to this important information because you're not in a position to give it for free and they're not in a position to pay you for it, right? So in this first shift, oh, wait, you guys, I got one more for you. This was a new one that showed up this year. I saw a lot in the work that I was doing with the entrepreneurs that we were serving. And that is, it's not safe. If I receive good fortune, I may become a target of persecution and scrutiny. And this comes from both what we witness in our society and the way that success shows up, and then all of the sort of the haters and the flack that people start to get as a result of their success. And this is also a natural outgrowth of experiencing any form of trauma in your life, or particularly in your formative years where you may have been singled out and the result of being singled out was not positive for you. And so I want to name that because in our work at Move the Crowd, one of our commitments also is we're going much deeper into trauma-informed transformation and personal and professional growth and development. And so this I am not safe conversation felt important to name. And again, if it resonates for you all, hit us up in the chat and acknowledge this. So in this first shift, my work was to see all of this and to understand this and to be in relationship with all of the ways that these series of conversations were operating in my life and giving me a particular reality. The second shift was moving from this place of resisting capitalism, because I had a lot going on in that anti-capitalism area, to a place of creating. Now, I'm not someone who gets excited about making a lot of money. And my guess is those of you who are listening to this webinar, it's probably not the making money part that really gets the juice going for you. When you really get down to it, it's probably about freedom. It's probably about flexibility. It's probably about the opportunity to reach as many people as you possibly can and make that desired impact that you want to make. And there was something about, for me, making sure that those motives continue to stay in front of me, So much so that I was getting the skills and learning how to be really good at making money and recognizing that the way I was doing business was from a place of being really conscious and actively shaping the way my business dealings went down. But I still needed a bigger motivation. I still needed a bigger reason why I was actually doing all of this. And what I got and what I understood in this second shift was that it wasn't enough to shun capitalism. That taking responsibility meant that I had to be committed to an alternative that was just as viable, a vision that felt just as vibrant versus just choosing to opt out, right, of the mainstream and opt out of doing business with quote unquote the man, however we define that, right? And this was another game-changing shift for me because once I understood, oh, like dissing capitalism is not enough, I've got to have a vision for what I want to create. I began to get excited and I began to think about what it would mean to cultivate, orchestrate, build, and operate from the creation of my own economy. So I didn't just like want to get good at capitalism. I wanted to freaking change the game. And that was what really set the fuel to the fire of transforming the next stage of making money and my reality in making money. And from this perspective, I began to look very specifically at who I was doing business with as much as I was looking at who was doing business with me. And I began to ask myself, what did I want the quality of my business interactions to be like? I looked at my dry cleaner and I was not loving my dry cleaner, you guys. You know, I would go in there and he was very abrasive and very rough and always screaming at his employees in the back. And, you know, I would have issues with what he gave me in terms of the quality of his work. And he wasn't open to having a conversation about it. And I was kind of like, you know what? I'm done with my dry cleaner. I'm going to find a peaceful dry cleaner. I'm going to find a Zen dry cleaner. I'm going to find a natural organic cleaner because that's actually more aligned with my values, right? And I got excited about that. And I began to look at the other people that I gave my money to. And I started to look at like, what do I want to hold as a standard for them? And literally vendor by vendor, I began to change. I began to alternate. I began to transform. And I began to find people where I felt excited about spending my money as opposed to angry or begrudging about spending my money. And that opened up and created a more expansive energy and more excitement came in. And at the same time, I was doing the same thing with people who were doing business with me. Started to look at who was my ideal client. Who did I really want to serve? Who were the people I really wanted to work with, right? And who were the people that I wanted to be, feeling most excited about doing business with? And what's the right context? In other words, what's the most conducive and ideal environment for me to be able to deliver on my talents and skills and abilities in a way that felt rewarding, where I was valued, I was appreciated. I wasn't being asked to come in and walk on water for 50 cents anymore. They had budgets. They could afford me. They could do work that was really, and we could do work together that was really proud of. And man, that vision got me so excited. And again, this shift took me to another level of earning. Through this process, this next year, right? So the first year, the first shift, tripling my income. This next year, implementing this idea of moving from resisting to creating and really embracing the idea and the concept of my own economy, applying this, operating and putting this on the ground took me into the realm of six figures. And here's what I want you to know about that. When I crossed the threshold of six figures, I was actually working less, like a lot less than when I was making a fraction of that. And this just to demonstrate the power of getting clear and the power of moving from this sort of pushback energy to moving to a place of really being open and being actively engaged and intentional about what I wanted to create. So in creating this vision for my own economy, I had to ask myself the question, what's my primary motivation for making money? And so I want you all to take a minute now and just jot that down. What is it for you? Is it about freedom? Is it about contribution? Am I making a difference in the lives of other people? Is it about another level of agency and influence? We don't talk enough about this, but some of us really want to be shot callers. We want to be ballers. We want to be players, ideally around the things that really matter to us, ideally around the things that are going to help create a better world, ideally around the things that are going to help change the lives of other people. So you have the opportunity in this moment to consider, wow, if you could create your own economy, what would be motivating it? What would be the central driver or drivers for you as you thought about this possibility and this opportunity? So now Let's talk about the third shift. The third shift was moving away from these notions, inherited notions about money and doing business, to a place of really exploring what was my money truth, what was true for me. And I will tell you all that this is where the rubber meet the road in terms of the rigor, because when I got up in there, I have to admit, I was a little shocked to see all of what was in there. I mean, yes, I came from hardworking parents and, people who really wanted to walk their talk, and no question about that. But I also had been in other communities and in other environments and in other circles, and I had picked up even their conversations about the system and the man and capitalism and what you could or couldn't do. I picked up from my spiritual community all kinds of beliefs about people who pursued money or wanted to make money or had any kind of affinity towards, wanting to acquire any form of wealth and what that meant. And, all of that, you all, was up in there. And, what I will say to you is that, when I got into this and when I started to dig through it, I recognized that I really had to, be very unflinching and courageous with myself in looking not only at what I had inherited, but also in looking at the power and the impact that that had on my life. So for example, the minute I started making money, I began butting up against all of these conversations. So I crossed that 6-figure threshold, and here came all the guilt, and here came all the challenges. And, and I had to really work through, wow, how much of what is in my head is mine versus how much of what is in my head belongs to somebody else, and really start to parse through where and what it was. And so I want to invite you all in this moment to do the same thing, and invite you all into the rigor to look at, like, again, what have you inherited and how do you hold it as yours? Where you really think you are the originator of this, but actually this was something that was handed to you by family, by the media, by friends, by, the institutions that you grew up in or were raised in. How do you hold it as true? Like that it's the gospel. And boy, I had a lot of that going on, man. There were certain things you just couldn't tell me weren't true. And when I began to really get into the heart of it and get to the root of the matter with me and started to really look at what was mine versus what I inherited, boy, did I have a lot of work to do here, and really sort of challenging myself around what it was that I thought was indeed true. And then the final question is, as you look at all these influences and inherited notions, who is shaping your perceptions? Who is really in there? Who's in your head and in your heart? And is what you're being given moving you towards your highest good, or is it standing in the way? So now I just want to take a quick minute and talk about, why is all of this important? Why would we be so committed and so dedicated and so passionate about wanting you to like lean into this conversation? And why would you even want to be leaning into this conversation right now? Right? We are living in such an incredible time, you all, in our history, where literally we are remaking economy and culture in real time. And, there are all these different sort of things happening on our landscape where we can see, we sort of see the most, offensive and the most sort of challenging aspects of humanity to some of the most inspiring and transformative aspects of humanity. And we really are sort of being thrown back and forth between these two extremes. But part of like what's happening in the middle is the birthing of a new way of life, a new way of living, a new way of seeing, a new way of operating. And we are not only calling that, but we are actually influencing that. And we want to invite you into the opportunity to influence it as well. So in our work, we believe that we're moving out of the age of the celebrity and into the age of the citizen. And in this age of the citizen, people are becoming far less preoccupied with watching celebrities unravel and far more preoccupied with their own personal brand and their own personal form of contribution. And that actually is the number one thing that they're interested in and leaning into. Holler if you guys hear me, if this is resonating. We're also moving out of this age of where things are transactional, meaning you're doing business with people who don't care about you. You're doing business with people who don't know you. You're doing business with people who, you're being sort of in a forced situation, right? Remember I talked about being at the mercy of. Well, now it's all about relational, right? And there's a different way that we now want to be engaged when it comes to doing business. And it is about connection. It is about being able to build trust and build a sense of integrity and credibility that enables us to want to lean into one another and engage. We are also upselling or evolving, you all, we do see this as an evolution, credentials for wisdom. So it isn't about how many degrees you have. It's about what's the fire that you've been through and what have you learned as a result of that fire, and how can you teach me how to be better as I'm going through that fire? Or what is it that you have to offer to me that can help me maybe even avert that fire, right? Or prevent that fire. Knowledge, similarly, is being up traded for connection. This real, and it ties into this relational piece, but it's not just connection in the sense of I know you or I trust you, but it's also like what you're saying resonates for me. There's a way that I feel seen and heard in the knowledge that you're sharing, recognized in the knowledge that you're sharing. And then money is being traded for meaning, and meaning is what it's all about right now. People are really looking at like it's not enough to make a whole bunch of money, but we're really searching for what is the thing that's going to make our hearts sing, right? Lots of people with lots of money, not happy. Right. And then, of course, instead of fame, now a conversation is about contribution, and it's about impact. It's about what are you doing, right? Instead of just personal achievement, it's now what are you doing for the rest of the world, right? So in the realm of contribution, you guys just think about all of the award ceremonies that you see now. The celebrities used to get up there and they would think they're, God, their mom, and their agents, right? That's pretty much maybe their spouse if they were married, right? And their kids. That's pretty much it. Now every celebrity got a cause. Every celebrity is utilizing that platform to make a statement about something. That lets you know we are in a new age, in a new era. And similarly, it's not enough that, people are getting in C-suites who've maybe never had an opportunity to sit in those chairs before. We need to understand as a community, what does it mean? Like, in other words, what does it mean for the rest of us that you're sitting in that chair? In what way is your leadership going to make a difference? And I know that these are the things that you all are thinking about, right? And so I want to say that this age is here, and this age is inviting you to engage. This table comes from the work of Joseph Pine and James Gilmore, and they are the authors of a book called The Experience Economy. And in The Experience Economy, they talk about the different stages of industry and the different eras of industry. And in that book, they allude in chapter 9 to something called the economy of transformation. And we, in my formative years with the crowd, I saw that term and got hooked around that, and was like, we leaned into it in terms of our own thought leadership and came up with what we thought the economy of transformation would be about. And this is idea of people no longer looking to acquire things, but people actually becoming the product themselves. And they were interested in buying and purchasing and engaging in things that made them better, that transformed them, that took them from one place to another. And they were interested in engaging in experiences and products and services that actually changed the game for them. And we, those of us who are in the market, were seen as facilitators of those experiences and facilitators of those opportunities, right? And the difference in the economy of transformation is that these things are practiced over duration. So they're really coming into deeper relationship with us. There's another level of investment we're making to them. There's another level of investment they're making with us. And the ultimate aim and the ultimate goal is about driving impact. So in this context of the economy of transformation, there are 4 tenets that this new consumer is looking for. And think about yourself and just see if these 4 resonate with you. They're interested in authenticity, that you are who you say you are. They're interested in transparency. They want to go behind the scenes with you. They want to see how it's made. They want to understand where you struggle and where you triumph, right? And being very honest about that. It's no longer about sort of having it all together and then never let them see a sweat culture. They are also interested in co-creativity, meaning they want to have input and feedback in how they're being served. And you want to be in conversation with them because their input and their feedback shapes how you make a good product great, or even they inform what's the next thing you offer. So there's a sense of feeling like there's a collaborative process going on with you and those you're serving. And then they want a sense of community. They want to be surrounded by like-minded, like-spirited people who value the same things that they value. And this is all of what is being called for now in the purchasing experience. And you have an opportunity to meet your ideal clients there. So as you hear all of this, you get to ask yourself, what's your vision for success? As you see the opportunity to first face your inner dialogue. Second, as you see the opportunity to determine in the context of these three shifts, what you want to keep, what you want to let go of, right? You have this opportunity to become a more active, conscious shaper. You have the opportunity to let go of the resistance, the hurt, the anger, the fear, the mistrust, whatever's in there, and really look anew and create the new. What do you see for yourself? In our work at Move the Crowd, we define success as a function of alignment. Alignment, right? So you're defining what success means for you. And then your work is to show up in alignment with what you define, to show up in alignment with the things that you say matter to you, to show up in alignment with the things that are important to you, to really be trued up to who it is that you really are so that you can make the contribution that you're here to make, which is all about what I believe we're being called to in this age of the citizen. So what is your money truth? And you all want to really give yourself some time and space to think about that, right? So, in this moment, there may be things that come up for you, but as I promised you at the end of our webinar tonight, you're going to get a gift from me that's going to enable you to go deeper in these questions. But just to start, like opening the lid on this, what is your money truth? If you could let go of what you've inherited that you don't think serves you any longer, what is true for you? And what is it that you want to hold on to? And what is it that you want to acquire that may be new in the context of your money and your inner dialogue? Now, why did you show up today? So I think you showed up, and you'll let me know if I'm right. You hit me up in the chat, you guys, and let me know, because you have a big vision for the kind of contribution you want to make. And you know that having lots of money is a part of that vision. You showed up because you are delivering great value, right, to those you serve. And you see that there's an opportunity to have that reflected in your bank account. You showed up because you want more, a life where you get to pursue your passion and your dreams and be wildly profitable in the process. And you showed up because you're ready. You're ready to bring your talents and ideas to life in a way that will financially liberate you and those you love once and for all, and enable you to make the impact that you want to make in the world. So now let's get to the $1 million question. You're like, yes, Ra, yes, Ra. Okay. So how do I turn what I learned today into more money? So I know that this is the question, right? And it's a great question. And what I want to do now is just give you some examples of people who've been able to do just that as a result of leaning into this conversation and going deeper and being courageous. And I promise I'll talk a little bit more in a minute about how you can do that if that's something you so desire to do, right? But by going deeper and really committing to themselves and investing in the work, here's what they've been able to achieve. I want you to meet Heather. Heather is the founder and CEO of the Million Person Project. The Million Person Project, when Heather came to us, this was just a seed of an idea, and she swore that it was going to be a not-for-profit, and there was a lot of work we had to really do to get her to even be able to open up her mindset and consider the possibility that this could be a profitable business. The Million Person Project supports people in being able to share their narrative, their personal narrative, in such an authentic way that it enables them to move audiences, genuinely move audiences, but also attract all of the kinds of resources, opportunities, and collaborations that can forward their work in the world. And so Heather, had this idea, wanted to do it, and again, originally thought it was going to be a nonprofit, and there was a lot of work that we had to do. And that first year, she got on the court with it as a not-for-profit. And man, when I tell y'all she struggled. And I was like, listen, I keep thinking that this is going to be, wants to be a for-profit business. And so we began to talk about it, and she began to lean into it. And she was like, okay, maybe I will like consider this and open up. And as she began to have her own come to Jesus moment, very similar to mine, she aligned around building it as a business. And in doing that, she had to shed all of what was operating in her inner dialogue. And as a result, Heather is now running a multi-six-figure profitable business, having the time of her life, serving the clients of her dreams. And just in the last year, 2017 to 2018, she more than doubled her income. She's in the multiple six-figure realm. She is literally actually getting ready to take some time off because she's pregnant and she's going to be having a baby soon. And she was able to build her business in a way that's going to enable her and allow her to be able to do that, right? So again, she's in her purpose, and she's receiving and achieving profitability and viability. And this business has not only given her that, but it's also given her a whole new quality of life. Meet Teresa Coleman Wash. Similar, Teresa, building this beautiful theater in Dallas, very much a maverick, kind of, going at it on her own. And for her, the work was really about opening up and really allowing people to support her. She had generated a lot of goodwill, but for whatever reason, just hadn't gotten to a place where she was able to really open up and let more people in. And that was about team. That was, and some of you had that, you know that what's important for you next year is team. And so she was able to open up around that. And when she came to us, she was operating at about $500,000 and had a significant, scenario that she needed to move through financially. And I'm so excited to say that through being willing to do that internal work and really being willing to let people in, she was able to quadruple her budget. And as a result, she's going to surpass 1.75 million. And so, and this is doing art, you guys. So for those of you who are creative, holler at your girl, Teresa. I just want to say again, how, just her making that shift and being willing to open up and see a greater realm of opportunity and support available to them, enabled her to be able to achieve this. The next is Z. And Z came to us as an artist, choreographer, and a healing practitioner and somatic visionary, and they were doing incredible work and was weaving all of these elements together. And Z struggled because they had a conversation about capitalism and who their audience was and who would pay them and who would not pay them. And Z came and delved deep into the work and went into the valley of themselves and discovered that there was a whole other reality that was possible if they were willing to show up for it. And I say they because Z is gender fluid. We do live in a community and work in a community of practice that is incredibly diverse here at Move the Crowd. And I'm really proud to say that. And so Z went from someone who was afraid to charge their clients for what they had to offer and to someone who is now receiving multiples of what they were afraid to charge for their offerings, and recently had a major launch just a few weeks ago that was completely sold out with a waiting list. And so just, in the world, doing their art, transforming lives, achieving what they want to achieve in terms of their passion and their vision, their impact, and more profitable than they've ever been. And then finally, Anu. And Anu works in the realm of racial justice and equity. So, deep social justice roots and deeply spiritual. So he had two of those challenges that I had, right? And Anu is working with clients in the health and wellness field and helping them transform implicit bias and unconscious bias through an innovative training and development that integrates social justice training and development and awareness and awakening with mindfulness. And, this whole idea of being able to transform perceptions around othering. And he is, just blowing it up with his hacking bias training and hacking bias movement. And Anu was on track to do 7 figures in 2019. And again, it was about him being willing to open up and receive this possibility that there was another vision that he could create that wasn't rooted in resisting, but rather in creating and calling forth his own economy. So again, just to give you some examples of those who have leaned in and actually turned these shifts into profitable realities and joyful realities and aligned realities in the context of their own definitions for success. So you have options, and that's really what I want you all to see. Option one is you can kind of walk away from this webinar. If you're struggling on any level, you can potentially continue to sort of tough it out and doing what you've been doing, or you can lean in and get some topical skills or look for those silver bullets or kind of grab those one hit wonder type solutions and go it alone and grind it out and take years to figure it out and do what I did and what it cost me and or just invest in those sort of surface solutions and you'll get what probably like more of the same, and the sad part about that is that, it's not just about what you don't receive in terms of the investment you make in yourself as far as, what you spend and the return on that, but more so all of the ways that you're not only leaving opportunities on the table and leaving money on the table, but the quality of life being left on the table as well. Right. And I say this, with all the love in my heart is that, when I talk with entrepreneurs who hesitate around the money stuff when it comes to these kind of investments, and they're going to go figure it out on their own. Invariably, when I speak with them 12 months or 18 months later, they're still kind of struggling, or maybe they've made a little bit of progress, incremental progress, right? And those examples are hard to watch because I know that there is another way. I know that there's another way, right? So listen, you guys can do that. Totally, you're right. Or you can look at the other options, which are you can work in a way that's more focused, more intentional, and more economical. You can step into a guided process, one that will enable you to get to the root of what's holding you back quicker so that you can apply the power of your own values, principles, and insights to achieve your desired goals faster and create a more abundant mindset, which will give you more joyful and abundant financial reality, not just today, but for years and years to come. So hit me up in the chat and let me know which one of these sounds more appealing to you, right? I say this all the time, and I really do mean this. People have no idea how much your mindset affects your money. And, again, just through surveying some of the different areas I gave you and sharing some of the root causes, we're just sort of scratching the surface of all of what's in there. We are making decisions about our money all of the time, but we don't even realize that that's what's going on. And moreover, we have no idea what's driving those decisions often. So, it can be the difference between a $10,000 a year and a $100,000 a year, right? In my case, or the difference between a $250,000 a year and $1 million a year. And I think you want to figure out like what's the difference in those decisions so that you can make more of those $1 million decisions and really achieve the goals and the aspirations that you want to achieve for you and for all those you want to serve. So to that end, I want to introduce you to an opportunity where these radical shifts are available to you, not someday off in the distance, but like now. And you can step into a guided process that will set a whole new foundation for your business and for your life around money. So this is like the culmination, you all, of everything that I've learned, both through my own journey and through taking literally hundreds and hundreds of our entrepreneurs that move the crowd through this process. And I've packaged it for you all in a very succinct and a very focused course that walks you step by step through how to literally change your mind so you can grow your money. It is what I call the definitive 6-step blueprint for cultivating an abundant mindset, attracting awesome opportunities, and transforming your financial reality. And I've developed this process to help you identify and obliterate anything that stands in the way of you and a more vibrant and abundant reality. So in these modules, let me tell you a little bit about what's in here. In the first module, we go deep around awareness because listen, until you can see it, you cannot change it. So I'm not only going to show you how to unearth those limiting conversations, and we just scratched the surface tonight and part of that work, but I'm actually going to teach you how they got there in the first place. And then I'm going to walk you through a radical process for identifying your greatest money hits and transforming them from impediments, yes, into rocket fuel, for sure. That's awareness. The second module, we're going to learn about acceptance. And I'm going to show you the power of courageous truth-telling, which is something that we don't do enough of. And we have not in my experience, had the opportunity to build the capacity of what it takes to really do that kind of courageous truth telling that can liberate us in ways like never before. And I'm going to demonstrate in real time the profound difference between having issues around money and actually being free. I'm also going to show you why most people get stuck here. And this challenging insight will be a game changer, I promise you. In the third module, we're going to look at and step into forgiveness. And you're going to have the opportunity to release a lot of things, a lot of feelings, a lot of experiences, the anger, the pain, the disappointment, the guilt, the frustration, the fear, the doubt, you name it. And we're going to put the past back in the past so that you can be freed up to create a whole new reality around your life and around your money. In module 4, I'll walk you step by step through the process of creating a brand new internal dialogue, one that will radically transform your reality. And I have a very particular process and protocol for how this is done. And again, this is not just affirmations. This is a whole other level of declarations. And there's a particular architecture involved and a way of building and constructing and working with these. And I'm going to give, support you and enable you to give voice to a whole new set of commitments, which will become the foundation for your new financial life. And then in the 5th module, we're going to move into action, right? And I'll show you how to take actions that are consistent with your new beliefs. And I'll demonstrate how these actions set the stage for making you a mega attractor for the kinds of opportunities that you want to be engaging in and for the kinds of people that you want to be working with and for the kind of impact that you want to be having across the board and achieving greater financial prosperity in the day today. And then finally, in the 6th module, celebration. And this is one of the most neglected practices in any transformative process. I'm going to show you how and why people quit and help you set a foundation that will enable you to stay motivated and in action as you shift your money reality. So this is available for you. And what you'll get in it are the 6 modules that I just walked you through, the live webinar sessions. These are actually recorded webinar sessions, video recorded webinar sessions with me. You'll get 6 workbooks corresponding with each session, each lesson. They have cheat sheets and tips and templates and tools, and this is all going to be available online for you now. If you step in and lean in tonight, access to a private member area where you'll be able to get all access to all of these resources and additional bonuses that I'm going to share more about in a second, and access to a private Facebook community where you get to be in relationship with like-minded and like-spirited people who are also committed to transforming their reality around money so that they can be showing up in the full contribution that they're here to show up in the world. So here is the URL, you guys. movethecrowd.me/go to be able to access this course. Now, what will you achieve? So you get a sense of what's in it in terms of the nuts and bolts, but let's talk about what my goal is and my aim is for you in terms of outcomes. First of all, through engaging in this work, you have the opportunity to transform any limiting belief that stands between you and your money. And my goal in this course is to give you the tools, because once you have the tools, not only can you transform any limiting belief around money, but you can transform any limiting belief around anything in your life that stands between you and what you want to have and who you want to be and what you want to achieve. You're going to get an opportunity to create a new money context that enables you to quickly attract and receive more. So in other words, as we reconstruct your inner dialogue, there's a magnetizing force that's going to show up in the center of these new conversations. And you're going to be able to actually start to see the miracles happen as you stand in this new reality and begin to give voice to and begin to move in concert with this new reality. You're going to discover your own truth and achieve success on your own terms. Some of you want a lot of money and you're clear about what you want to do with all that money, right? It's one of the questions I asked you tonight in our work. For others of you, you may not be as clear. You know, you're going to discover, well, maybe I don't want world domination. Maybe I just want, $250,000 a year, something that enables me to, do really meaningful work, take great vacations, or take care of my family. You hear what I'm saying, but you're going to be able to unhook from all of the societal pressure and really get into the sanctity of you and discover what is true for you in this process. And then finally, you'll be able to understand the nature of this new economy. I gave you a glimpse of it, but we're now going to, in this conversation and in this work, go deeper to understand like how you get to participate in a way that enables you to first and foremost be you. Second, do what you love and what you believe you're here to do. 3, achieve greater financial returns. And 4, absolutely have the kind of impact on the world that you want to have. Make the difference you've been called to make. And then last, but certainly not least, engaging in this community of like-minded visionaries, being able to fall in love with amazing, driven, ambitious, lovingly ambitious people just like you who are wanting to get it done in honor of their dream. So what is the total value, you all? If I broke down the 6-module course with the videos, tips, tools, and templates, that alone would be $897. The bonus module, which we added based on popular demand, we had a pilot group go through this course, and they were like, man, Rob, would you talk more about opportunity? And I did as a result of their request and created a separate module alone that not only talks about how you attract opportunity, but how you vet opportunities, and then the strategies for how you capitalize on opportunities. It is in there and available to you all as part of the course. You also have access to my 10, and this is part of the fast action, 10 must-have money mantras, which are, again, standalone, $97 value. And I talk with you about how to work with mantra. There's a particular way you give life to and give voice to these specific phrases that I've given you. And they've been road tested and battle tested. Trust me when I tell you, you'll have access to those and the opportunity to work with those in a guided way. Also, the annotated bibliography. So in support of all of what you're going to learn from me, I'm also going to give you a reading list. And I'm going to share with you why each text I've chosen is important and the way that I believe it will make a difference for you as you're working through the course. And I'm also going to give you some clues around where, in your journey of going through the material, where would it be great to integrate some of these texts. Some of them I may even request that you read after, because again, there's a way that they build on the progression of what you've already gotten from the coursework that you're going to do. And then there are those things in green, which we're going to talk about for those of you who are ready to take action tonight. My 6 guided Grow Your Money meditations, which are again worth almost $700 by themselves. The fast action bonus, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, which is a classic, and is taught by all of the major players in personal growth and development and professional growth and development now, to multi-million dollar CEOs of, standalone ventures, to billion-dollar leaders of corporations. This work is pivotal and foundational to the way that wealth and prosperity is taught, around the world. And, again, we will make this, for those of you who are ready to take action, available to you. And then live Q&A with me at the end of all this work to really ask all of your questions. I'll come into our private Facebook group and we'll chop it up, and you'll get to have those responses. And all of this, the total value, if we put these together, list items, be over $3,000. We're offering you access to Change Your Mind, Grow Your Money for the low investment of $497, or just 3 installments for $197. And I'm doing these 3 installments because I don't want money to be in the way for you guys. If you need this, that this is going to make a difference for you, having the opportunity to lean in and do this work and really get to the heart of what's in the way and clear it out of the way, you can take advantage of the 3 installment option. Now, let's say you get in there and you're like, this is not what I thought it was, or I don't know if I'm ready for this, or I don't think this is going to be a fit. And this is really you getting in and you giving it a real try. In other words, you're really leaning into the work. You're really, stepping into the lessons and getting on the court with this, and you're really finding it's not for you. Then you've got a 30-day money-back guarantee, no risk to you all. You find it's not a match. We have a conversation. This is what worked. This is what didn't work. your money comes back to you, no questions asked at the end of the day, right? And so you have 30 days within the time from purchase to be able to return it. So what happens next? If you say, yes, this is for me, I'm ready to lean in, you're going to come in. As you click the link, you'll have the opportunity to fill out some information, which will then take you to an order form where you will get to choose your payment option. You'll input your payment information, and you will hit the place order button, and that gets you in. And then you'll receive a welcome email from us with all of your login details and all of the information about how to really maximize the experience of the course and the lessons. So the take action bonuses I mentioned are here, the money mantras we talked about. And I said to you, a guided way of working with these particular phrases, the change your mind, grow your money, guided meditations, which I'm so excited about. This is part of my collaboration with mega hit producer Jamin McDillan and Beats Alchemy, Jamin Van Dillen and Beats Alchemy. And Jamin is a sound harmonization expert, you all. And he's, been in the music industry and produced records for Britney Spears and Nicki Minaj, among others. But Jamin had a spiritual awakening, which you all know very often can happen with people when they're at the pinnacle of their success, and began to travel the world and visiting ancient sites and started to tune the energy and draw the energy and be in this really incredible exchange with all of the sort of major sacred sites around the world, including the pyramids to Stonehenge to Delphi, and just all of the sort of monuments that carry this high vibration. And those are also infused in the binaurals that are created. And these beats, each of these meditations are tuned to the principles that you're going to move through in each module and each working session. And so that becomes available to you, right on your iPhone or wherever, whatever your pleasure, but you can use these on the go and tune into that energy and tap into that energy and open and transition and transform and move through and into a more expansive place as a result of the experience. And then, of course, as I told you, this priceless classic is yours by Wallace D. Wattles, written in 1910, The Science of Getting Rich. I've read this book literally 50 times, you guys. It's only 52 pages, but it is jam-packed with wisdom and sets a whole other context and frame of reference for how to be more abundant and more prosperous in how you move in the world and how to become a magnet for the things that you want to achieve and the things that you want to receive. Okay, Regina, here we go. And you all, thanks for hanging with me. I know I was running a little bit over tonight. I so appreciate you all being, troopers and staying in there, but I didn't want to shortchange you. I really wanted to give you full value tonight. And again, Change Your Mind, Grow Your Money is available to you. The take action bonuses, if you act within the next 15 minutes, Virginia, you can open up the offer and you all can step in. And now I want to just open it up for questions, Regina, because maybe, while people are, clicking through and, taking those steps, there may be questions that have come up as a result of the work that we've done so far. So I want to really invite and give voice to folks who are ready to sort of dive in and ask me questions. You can ask me questions about any of the work we've done tonight so far. You can ask me questions about Change Your Mind, Grow Your Money. I'm available for all of the above. Regina?
Hey, Ra. So this was less of a question and more of a statement that I thought was really powerful. When we were talking about the two options that we wanted to take towards being more liberated towards money, Kate said the hard and frustrating is necessary because we also have to learn how to sit with our discomfort, but to shift to the focused and creative in the next breath. Ending on that note is key for me. And I thought that was so important because if you're sitting in your discomfort, how do you know that it's time to shift?
Yeah, so good. Kate, I'm high-fiving you with both hands, truly high-fiving you with both hands. And, here's what I say. If you're going to struggle, you want to struggle in honor of something. You don't want to struggle needlessly, right?
Exactly.
And so, Is the work going to be challenging? Yes. And you all, I don't want to, I have zero commitment to mislead you here. We're going to do some challenging work. However, I promise you, in all the ways that you will be confronted, you will also be able to see opportunity and access to liberation on the other side, right? And so I do want to say to you all, to Kate's point, that it is important to sit in some discomfort. It's going to be important to do some truth telling, but you're doing it in honor and in service to your liberation, which creates so much more capacity, you all, for you to have what you want and for you to show up as who you want to be in the world. And that's what, that's what I believe that this is all about, right?
Absolutely. So we have another question. It says, you've taken me through so much tonight. How will Change Your Mind, Grow Your Money do more?
It's a great question. So what you have gotten tonight is just the beginning of awareness. In the context of the course, I'm actually going to take you through a process where you are going to see firsthand all of the ways that this inner dialogue is operating in your life. You're also going to determine what is the most prominent conversation. In other words, so I have all these conversations going on, but what is the one that if I could get underneath it and if I could get to the heart of it, I actually have the potential to shift my entire reality, right? And that is the first step in Change Your Mind, Grow Your Money. In other words, we get you to a level of awareness where you really then begin to have the tools to completely shift all of what maybe has haunted you in the past to create the space for a new future. So once you see, then we go into the process of the real truth telling, right? And Anita, this is such a great question, right? So, like I said, tip of the iceberg tonight on awareness. We then go, you get to the mother, what I call, we get to pull the mother weed out of the ground in the course. And that then sets the stage for us to start to talk a little bit about this truth telling and what does it look like to really take your life back as it relates to your money and your finances. And what does it look like to actually start to transform those root conversations? And what does it look like to start to come into your own truth? And what does it look like to let go of all of the ways in which we beat up on ourselves or we put ourselves down or we limit ourselves, whether it's what somebody else has told us and we've held on to it, or whether it's things that we've been telling ourselves over the years. I'm sort of saying that, nobody kicks your butt better than you do.
Right.
We are our worst critics, you guys. And we don't realize the impact that those harsh conversations have on us, especially accumulated over time. And there's stuff in there that you can't even see. So even if you did the exercises, which I want you to do, there's some stuff that's going to come up for you, but there's other stuff that you may not even be able to see, and you're going to start to bump up against it as we do this deep excavation process and then this releasing process so that we can actually start to build a new foundation from scratch. I don't want you all just walking around talking about, I have these issues, right? Like they're permanent fixtures or like they're just, furniture that you can never change. Whatever is holding you back, you can absolutely transform it, and you can transform it much quicker than you think you can. And that is what I want to invite you into the possibility of in the context of this course.
So another question was, what is the difference between my definition of capitalism and my personal relationship with capitalism?
Oh, I love that. So in your definition of capitalism, you all may have this conceptual definition of what capitalism is or is not, right? And, some of it may be infused with how the world works. Some of it may just be the textbook definition of sort of supply and demand and free market and, one being able to take advantage of, right, free market opportunity. When it gets to your personal relationship, you then get to start to look at, well, what is moving through my bank accounts? What's moving in my interactions with the different people that I'm doing business with? What kinds of agreements am I signing? Where am I showing up or not showing up? Where are others showing up or not showing up, right? Am I engaging in the kinds of opportunities I want to engage in? Am I being held captive in, relationships that because of the paycheck, I've got to say yes to, but I know do not feed my spirit, and on and on and on, right? So it gets personal very fast. Let me say, when we come into the course, because you get to dissect how this is specifically moving in your reality, which is bigger than just, the sort of general conversations, turn on the news, here's what's happening with the economy.
Awesome. So another one says, how long will it take to complete the course?
So the beauty of this is you can do it at your own pace. There are 6 modules. Each working session is about 90 minutes. And so, and then you've got homework, you all, and tips and tools and templates and worksheets. And, you may choose to move slower through these. But if you said, I'm on the fast track, about 6 weeks, I would say you could get through it. In other words, if you did a module a week, you could absolutely get through the course and get the work done. And, if you really lean into this wholeheartedly, I believe in my experience with the work that we've done with the groups that did go through this, they started seeing results the first week. Second week, leaning in, they were like, oh my God, this is happening and that is happening. And part of it is also you get to see on a different level that you've not been able to see before. And that's, that in and of itself, I will tell you all, is a game changer.
Awesome. So next, I see, can you say more about how you'll help us participate in this new economy? What does that mean?
Yeah. So you will begin to understand how the most valuable thing that you have to offer in the world is what you've personally been given to bring. It is rooted in your unique combination of talents and gifts and abilities. It is rooted in the things that are nagging you and calling you and haunting you. And you guys know what I mean when I say this. You know what it is you're being called to do, even if you may be running from it. Because some of you, anytime anybody said to me, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, what that really means is I'm scared, or I don't believe I can do this and make money, or I don't believe I can do this and not be ridiculed, or, there's other concerns that they're navigating. And so they keep stepping around the thing that keeps showing up. And so we're going to get to the heart of why you're here and what you're here to do, because you want to be doing this in honor of something. And I'm saying it's an honor of being able to respond to where your passion and your purpose is, and an honor of being able to achieve the kind of profitability you want to achieve in your passion and in your purpose. And I want to show you how the world wants to meet you, especially right now in this time where we are remaking economy and culture in real time.
Right. So another one was, what did it take to maintain your new money mindset after you changed it?
Oh, that's a great question. So when you develop, and I take you through this process, you all, in module 4, when you develop the new inner dialogue, we really develop them as commitments. So they're more than just affirmations, you guys. And you heard me reference that earlier. You develop these as commitments. In other words, these are the things that you're now going to live by, that you're going to act by, that you're going to move by. And in developing them and holding them as commitments, there's another level of intentionality and another level of rigor and alignment that shows up when you operate as a commitment, right? And so when you declare what you're going to declare in the work that we do in module 4, and we really start to talk about what that means to make the commitments that you're making to yourself, and then to begin to act in alignment with that commitment, then you're going to start to see how it shifts, how it changes, how it moves, and your practices, corresponding practices, are going to be to keep those commitments in front of you. And that will be how you maintain the new mindset.
And a follow-up is, how do I hold them as commitment versus a saying or a supposed to?
Mm-hmm. That's great, because you get to see what, if you were to honor that commitment, what does it provide for you? So there's a way that you actually get to look at what's on the other side of making that commitment, so that you're always paying attention to the vision. You're always paying attention to what you want to have. I mean, listen, when we came through the poll at the top of the webinar today, y'all were talking 7 figures up in here. Y'all were talking, $500,000 plus. I'm like, let's go. And I know, based upon where we looked at where you were in 2018, I'm seeing quantum leaps for a lot of you in what you want to achieve in this year. Well, you got to do quantum leap work. And that means
You're out.
right? Real talk. That means commitment. And when you hold it as a commitment, you know, like I literally, you guys, when I said my menu of services, like I stopped asking people what their budget was and I started to presenting it was a commitment for me. Like I told myself, you don't get to have a conversation without laying out your menu. So literally I used to send people my menu before we would have the conversation. You know, as my beloved mentor, Lisa Nichols would say, knees knocking, teeth chattering, like terrified. I would make myself send it. Right, because it would force me to have, because then they'd be like, oh, you sent me something. Let's talk about what you sent me, right? So it would force me to have the new conversation as opposed to falling back on my default because I got scared or I got intimidated in the moment. And listen, it happens to all of us. So when I say commitments, you're going to create structures of support and structures of accountability for yourself that enable you to really keep showing up consistent with now what it is that you say you want to have. And that's how it becomes different than just lip service. You know, I have a belief about affirmations. I'm clear about where and how they work. And this is like the turbo on crack diesel version of what it means to speak a new existence. And that's really what you're going to do in this course.
Awesome. And I think we have time for one more. And it is, suppose I know what my limiting conversations are. How do I change them?
Mm-hmm. You take the course. That's how you know what I mean? Like literally, we're going to walk you through. You all saw the 6 modules, literally each step of what I walked you through: awareness, acceptance, forgiveness, right? New vision, aligned right action, and celebration. Those are the steps. Those are the 6 transformative steps to move from where your conversation is now to ultimately where you want it to be, which is something that is more expansive, something that's more inviting, something that's more inspiring. And you're showing up with a new level of conviction and confidence, you all, as well. And guess what? You've earned it. And you'll see what I mean when we get into the work.
All right. And one more, actually. Why is knowing what your root cause is so important?
Because it guides so much more of how you operate than you can possibly imagine. There is an assignment that I give you all in the first module that I think is going to blow your mind, because it has blown the mind of every entrepreneur I've ever given the assignment to. But you really that's why I said to you all at the top, we have no idea how much our mindset plays into our reality and how much our mindset gives us a particular reality. You're going to find out in this course. And one of the ways that you're going to find out is you're going to be taken through a process that enables you to see all of the ways that your root cause or root causes are operating in your psyche and how they're governing not only what you see, but what you say yes to, what you say no to, and how you show up inside of what you say yes to and what you say no to. So you're going to be able to see all of that, and you're going to be able to make a decision and a determination and a choice about, you know, whether or not you're wanting to, willing, ready, and able to start to shift.
Got it. That's it for the questions.
Wow, you guys, great questions. Oh my God. Like I feel you working here. Okay. So I promised you all a gift for hanging in there. So you can, and Regina, you'll activate this for them. You can download these questions. This is my gift to you. These are bonus questions from our session tonight. And these are just, you know, if you already started in the journal with some of the 3 main questions I posed, here are a series of additional questions that take you deeper along the same lines of really helping you to start to unearth that inner dialogue, as well as start to really think about, like, wow, what is my vision for success? How do I want to do business in a different way? If I had the potential to create and architect my own personal economy, what could that look like? And so, you know, again, I want to thank you all so much for hanging in here and being troopers and staying for the full webinar. It would be my honor and privilege to serve you in the context of Change Your Mind, Grow Your Money. And whether you choose to lean in or not, I hope you got value from our time tonight. And I hope you will utilize this gift, which is, again, no strings, no obligation, no nothing. It's just my love to you, because I sense that you are serious about the change that you want to make and what you want to have and achieve in 2019. And I'd love to support you if it aligns for you and it makes sense for you. I'd love to be able to do that. So after you come through the handout, you're going to choose one conversation that you're going to work with. You're just going to take on one conversation and you're just going to start to work with that conversation and challenge yourself around that conversation, right? So you don't step into the orchestrated, guided process that we're offering with Change Your Mind, Grow Your Money. You can still challenge yourself and challenge your thinking and ask yourself, is that true? Is that really what I want to be true? And get on the court with that and begin to see whether or not you're able to shift it through the intention of wanting something different. Okay, and so I want to leave you with a quote, one of my favorite quotes by Parker Palmer. And oh, you're so welcome. I'm seeing the love come in. I really appreciate you all. My joy, my honor, my privilege. Please know that. And so the quote says, our deepest calling is to grow into our own authentic selfhood, whether or not it conforms to some image of who we ought to be. As we do so, we will not only find the joy that every human being seeks, we will also find the path, our path of authentic service in the world. And it is my desire to allow that path of authentic service to not only be wildly rewarding, but to be wildly profitable as well. It is yours for the taking. I love you all. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. This is your girl.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. Click on the link, you guys. Click on the link if it's calling you. Big hug, big kiss.